She's excited. Okay. Hi. Hello. So, Juneteenth is Freedom Day. A day solely for Black people that represents the beginning of an era out of shackles. And even though it is a day for celebration, it was also the beginning of a new fight, or really a continuation of it, just in a different form. Juneteenth is also in the middle of Pride Month. Pride, as the history goes, started with a riot. It started out of Stonewall, where police tried to destroy queer joy. It became the biggest spark to a now yearly tradition of pride parades, protests, and awareness. So I find it interesting how Juneteenth is during Pride Month and there's almost no acknowledgement of how those intersect. What I mean is that Pride and Black history go hand in hand. Racial minorities had cultures that embraced gender and sexual diversity, and that was all overrun by the standards that were set up in the name of white supremacy. There's been progress, there's always been fights towards the better, but there needs to be acknowledgement of people who pushed for that progress initially so that those groups are not left behind in the continuation of the fight. Black Lives Matter. Black cis women, Black cis men, Black trans women, Black trans men, Black non-binary people, Black gay and lesbian people, Black bisexual people, Black pansexual people, Black ace people, all Black Lives Matter. For as long as Black people have existed, Black LGBT people have existed. And Black LGBT people fought for civil rights. And honestly, just existing as who they were was a fight for equality. Gladys Bentley, also known as Harlem's most famous lesbian in the 1930s. Bayard Rustin, an LGBTQ and civil rights activist that was an advisor to Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. He organized the 1963 March on Washington. Stormé de Lavarini.
Stormé de Larvery.
She was a biracial butch lesbian from New Orleans. James Baldwin, a writer that wrote about civil rights and being gay. Alvin Ailey, a choreographer who founded the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater and was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Audre Lorde, a self-described Black lesbian feminist mother, poet, and warrior. Ernestine Eckstein. She was a leader of the first lesbian civil and political rights organization in the United States and was involved with the organization Black Women Organized for Action. Barbara Jordan, a civil rights leader and attorney, while never really being public about her sexual orientation, she was open about her life partner, Nancy Earle. And I'm sure you know of this lovely woman, Marsha P. Johnson. Her, along with Sylvia Rivera, were trans activists who helped form Street Transgender Action Revolutionaries. Miss Major Griffin Gracie. She's a Black transgender woman and activist at the forefront of the fight for trans rights. She joined Transgender Variant and Intersex Justice Project as a staff organizer. Ron Oden. He was elected the mayor of Palm Springs and was the first openly gay African-American man elected mayor of an American city. Phil Wilson, a prominent African-American HIV/AIDS activist. He founded the Black AIDS Institute in 1999 and was appointed President Obama's Advisory Council on HIV and AIDS. Andrea Jenkins. She was the first openly transgender Black woman elected to public office in the U.S. She's also a published poet and oral historian. Willie Ninja, a dancer, choreographer, and the grandfather of Vogue, initially known for being in the documentary Paris is Burning. Lori Lightfoot, a former prosecutor who is Chicago's first Black female mayor and first openly LGBTQ mayor. Alphonso David, the first person of color to lead the Human Rights Campaign. And these are just a few people. There can still be hostility in the Black community towards gender and sexual diversity, and that's definitely rooted in how our culture was stripped from us and distorted into seeing something diverting from the norm as a weakness that can be exploited. It's hard for people to even come out to themselves because that would just add to more pain that we could experience. On the other side, we have the LGBT community as a whole, where white people are often the face, the representation, the voices that are centered in conversations. Voices of those with intersectional identities are heard last, if at all. And even though they were the start of the movement, trans women of color were the start of Pride, and yet who do you hear from the most in the community, especially in media? And not even just the advocacy, but the existence of the community. Look at how we interact. There is racial preferences within sexualities, and overall there's just a lack of understanding of different experiences. Even while being discriminated against, there is still somehow room for grasping at the privilege that's left in order to have power. Because even though diverse gender and sexuality can create a community, everyone still sees your skin color first. Our lives are still impacted by this horrific system. Black people are usually forced at the bottom even within our own communities, whether it's from the view of being a black and queer person in the queer community or being black and queer in the black community. Pride is a part of black history, and Juneteenth being a day during Pride Month should be a reminder of that. Please show some support to a black creator. Donate to someone's living or transition fund, follow a creator and actively engage in their content, hold people accountable if they do something problematic, sign petitions, educate yourself and others on different topics. This doesn't stop here. Happy Pride Month, and happy Juneteenth. Be nice to people.